After making a pretty cool Showdown skin, I'm probably on Nintendo's radar, so I thought the best thing to do next was to critique Gamefreak's design choices. What is Gamefreak doing that's killing competitive Pokemon, and why do people feel forced to use Showdown in the first place? Great question. Well, dear viewer, join me on this commentated journey on why competitive Pokemon is hindered by Gamefreak's philosophy, why it was designed this way to begin with, and how one would fix these issues gracefully. I made an entire UI mockup specifically for this topic, so let's begin. Accessibility is key to any esport, or any sport for that matter. If I want to become a great skateboarder, all I would need is a skateboard and smooth cement, at least to get started to see if I even like it. Later I could find local skate parks and later yet competitions, but the key here is the natural progression of accessibility. Some of the biggest esports out there are free to play by design, and well, yeah, that's the point, for the player to be able to try out the game before needing to invest time or money into it. Anything else is actively putting the esport at a disadvantage. So how does Pokemon handle this progression of accessibility? Well, they don't at all. Cost-wise, sure, it's a $60 game, not a good start, but Pokemon has such a huge fan base that will be buying the game regardless. No, this is about how Game Freak actively discourages casual players from even trying out competitive Pokemon solely by their design and philosophy around raising Pokemon. You know what I'm talking about. I might be describing you right now. Raising Pokemon is hard, confusing, and takes forever. There's a lot that goes into a competitive Pokemon. I mean, look at all this. This is fine, it adds depth to the game, but why is it all hidden and abstract and not clearly explained in the actual game? Sure, they made some things easier along the way or showed us more information about our Pokemon, but then they take away features, change features that we just got used to, or add insane grinds to their new mechanics. Players have been scared away by this dance for so many generations, why even participate? Let me boot up Showdown instead or hack my Switch to create a Pokemon because frankly, that's an easier process. How did we get here and where did it all go wrong? Well, we have to take a quick look at a little Pokemon history. Back in Gen 1, you only had DVs and Stat Experience, the predecessor to EVs. They were as cumbersome as they are now, well, worse. But you have to remember at this time, it was just little Billy playing little Timmy. There wasn't much need to create a perfect Pokemon. So let's fast forward to Pokemon's first professional outing, Pokemon Video Game Showdown 2008 during Generation 4. The tournament was a one-year event that jump-started Pokemon VGC. It was introduced during Generation 4, a month before Platinum would have been released in Japan. The grind and knowledge it took to make a competitive team at the time is insane. Check out Amablissy's video on the whole process. It took him 60 hours to make the competitive winning team, and that was with a well-executed plan and RNG manipulation. But let's give the company a break. It would be speculation to say Game Freak was aware of the plans to create a VGC during the development of any Gen 4 game. But that's okay, you know, Gen 5 is due in a couple of years. This could have been the turning point in the series where they got together and said, hey, we have this VGC thing now that people are taking really serious. How can we make the process not intimidating and as inviting as possible to encourage new players to participate? So is that what they did? It still takes 50 hours in black and white with RNG manipulation to make a single team. Now, hindsight is 2020 and no one knew how big esports would get, but a company should know that once you start giving out cash prizes, competitors will do anything they can for a one-up on their opponent, including cracking the science behind a perfect Pokemon. Now, I get it, Game Freak has made raising and training Pokemon easier throughout every generation. There are ability patches now, bottle caps work at level 50 now. We are animals begging for scraps. Game Freak is putting bandages on problems that they themselves created. Yes, some players like the ritual of training a Pokemon and the bond and love it creates between the player and their Pokemon, but none of that belongs in a competitive space. We all know these guys aren't claiming love as their winning strategy. Okay, I'm a lot of talk, so what would be the solution? I think it's very simple. Have a Pokemon creation tool for online play with some limitations. Okay, so this tool can be used to create any Pokemon with some caveats. First, you cannot create shinies and you can't nickname these Pokemon. This way you know that nicknamed Pokemon and shinies were raised, not created, which could be like a badge of honor for those dedicated players. Next, these Pokemon can't leave the box, so no using them in-game or for raids. And if need be, you cannot use them at official events. So this would retain all the in-game mechanics that are already there to raise a Pokemon without just throwing them away. Okay, and here is how it would look. Once you beat the game, you go to your box and there's an option to create a Pokemon. You select from the list of all the Pokemon you have encountered. Once selected, you move to the creation page. Drawing inspiration from the menus in the game, you then can toggle between different pages to adjust things like EVs, items, moves, and Terra type. When you're happy with what you have, you can click Create Pokemon in the overview menu. The new Pokemon will be placed in your creation box, a special box where Pokemon can be selected for online teams but cannot be moved out of the box for any reason. You can always go back and edit these Pokemon or release them like a normal Pokemon. This would make creating competitively viable Pokemon a breeze. Now little Timmy is able to create a team and get a taste of competitive Pokemon by simply spending 30 minutes creating his first team. And if it sucks, which it will, sorry Timmy, that's okay, not a big deal, make another. You have created accessibility. Contrast this with little Timmy spending his entire weekend watching YouTube videos, figuring out the best way to breed and train, and spending the rest of his time doing the actual grinding just to get online and learn that his team is absolute garbage. After wasting his entire weekend, little Timmy says, forget this, and doesn't touch Pokemon again until the next game comes out. This sounds ridiculous, but I guarantee you that this has happened. This change also makes competitive Pokemon more enjoyable for experienced players. The meta is always changing, and what Pokemon are currently popular is going to affect how you want your Pokemon stats and moves to look like. It also promotes creativity, as there's no longer a huge time sink in creating an abnormal team. As of now, a lot of competitive players either gen Pokemon themselves or pay someone to hack specific Pokemon for them. So that brings up a whole nother issue on financial accessibility and what's deemed fair, a topic currently splitting the Pokemon community. There would be for sure some downsides, like Terra Raid rewards feeling pointless, but that could be a separate issue entirely. I'm not one to promote disdain, but I hope this video covered a relatable frustration. We all want to see what's best for Pokemon and the ability for new players to try out this great competitive scene. It's unfortunate that Gamefreak is stuck in the past, and I really wish they would take little Timmy's feelings more seriously. Thanks for watching.
Have a shot.